ਸਾਡੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ ਬਰਾਊਨ ਹੋਰੀ ਇਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਤੇ 4 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਬ੍ਰੈਂਪਟਨ ਦੇ ਮੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਭੂਮਿਕਾ ਨਿਭਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਟਰਿਕ welcome to the show.
Great to be on the show. How are you doing?
Great, brothers. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's a nice, beautiful day in Brampton, and happy to be sitting here talking with you.
Right. So you must be very busy in these days. I know because everybody is trying their best to be the next winner of this race. How do you see this so far? How your campaign is going on?
So the campaign's going really well. You know, last time when I got elected as mayor, I had a minority of councillors supporting me. I'm hoping to go back to City Hall with a big mandate and a majority so that I can implement my agenda to put a priority on public safety, to expand recreation, to keep property taxes affordable, to continue the work we've been doing on healthcare. So I'm loving the campaign. It's great to be all over the city meeting residents, and really grateful for the support we're getting.
So when you say you are looking for the majority this time, so that means you're trying to not to see all the previous winners this time?
Yeah, obviously I've had some disappointment with some councillors. You know, we had some councillors I couldn't even get to show up to work. You know, I had to announce a motion that you would lose your paycheck if you didn't show up, if you missed 5 meetings in a row.
Right.
And, you know, Harjinder, let me give you an example. Bill 21. I took a strong leadership role in the country fighting Bill 21. It's bigoted. It said you can't wear a turban or a hijab and be a government worker. That's wrong. And Brampton rallied 30 cities to support us. But let's not forget, you know, there was half of the councillors that oppose that. When I'm fighting for justice, when I'm fighting for equal opportunity, I want to have a council that rallies behind me. In the case of Bill 21, we did something good for the country. Now the legal fight against Bill 21 is fully funded all the way to the Supreme Court because of the campaign that started in Brampton. And so I want to make sure I'm able to implement my agenda to move Brampton forward without some of the opposition I've had in the recent years.
Right. So Patrick, we'll try to keep this brief and short because I know you are busy and due to your schedule we will try to keep it short. But there are many concerns. Before we discuss those issues or concerns, this segment is all about know your candidate. And most of the people are already aware about you. But still, if you want to introduce yourself, how do you introduce yourself to the newcomers or whosoever is going to vote you first time?
Sure. You know, I've been the mayor of Brampton the last 4 years. My background is I'm a lawyer. I have served at all 3 levels of government as a opposition leader, as a MP for almost a decade. You know, my father's been practicing law in Brampton for a very long time. He's 81 and he's still practicing.
Okay.
Since even before the courthouse was built in Brampton. He's been having a law practice here. Okay. My mother is a retired school principal. And I got 2 young children, Savannah and Theodore, 1.5. Savannah is, and Theodore is 3.5.
Right.
We live in the downtown of Brampton, and you know, I love the responsibility I have to take care of our city.
Right. Your opponents have one concern with you. They said you are outsider. You raised and brought up in Barrie, and now you're serving Bramptonians. How do you take that?
So I was never raised in Barrie, and I served there as an MP. But you know, listen, I get that right now my opponents will. They're running on attacking me. They're not running on their own ideas. And because the polls show that I have such a large lead, I get why they want to take that negative style of attack. My approach is I'm not going to put my opponents down. I'm not going to attack them. I don't believe in American-style politics. And I'm going to continue to highlight what I'm going to do for the city and my response to others. You know, my principal adversary probably in this race, I think the last poll was 𝗚𝗿𝗶𝗶. And, you know, I know he's putting TikTok videos out and this and that, but, I'd say rather than attack the incumbent, I think what voters want to see, what residents want to see, is what would you do differently? What are your goals for the Peel Police? What are your goals for recreation? What are your goals for taxes? And that's what I hope we can really have a conversation on.
But I think they are just targeting you because you're an incumbent, and they have so many things to say about you because they are new and they want to get
But,
you replaced.
I'll take a different approach. And I'm going to suggest, and, elections are an opportunity to have a vigorous debate about the future of the city. And if you only talk about why the other guy is bad, I think that turns voters off. And so let me say, Harjinder, when I ran 4 years ago, my focus was on saying what I would do differently. It wasn't about attacking Linda Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And, we had great leaders in the community, whether it was former Premier Bill Davis, former MP 𝗚𝗿𝗱𝗂𝗽, who put out statements about my character. They were not, the endorsement I got from Bill Davis and 𝗚𝗿𝗱𝗂𝗽 were not attacking the incumbent. They were about saying how Patrick would be a positive change for the city. And so we're going to continue to run a positive campaign.
Right.
My goal is to continue to fight for Brampton, to make sure our city gets our fair share. And Brampton needs a fighter. When we weren't getting vaccines, I fought for our city. When we didn't get the hospital tender issued, I fought for our city and got the tender issue. And I'm going to continue to fight for the city because that's what we need.
Right. But at the same time, they have concern about your leadership because many people say you are also a political opportunist, because they say when there was an opportunity for you, when you leave the city just for the leader of the federal Conservative Party, and you just left the people of Bramptonians alone. And before that, you were fighting for provincial leader. So how would you address that?
So I think it's an asset for Brampton to have someone who has experience at all three levels of government. Right. It allows me to navigate the funding channels and to have a mayor who understands all three levels of government gives us an advantage. It's probably why in the last 4 years we've received more funding than in the previous 20, because I understand how the system works. In terms of the federal leadership, listen, a lot of Bramptonians said they wanted me to change the Conservative Party, to make it more inclusive. Whoever won that leadership was going to have a chance to be Prime Minister. And I said at the time that if I was successful, I would have run as an MP in Brampton. I was never leaving Brampton. Brampton was, whether I served Brampton at a municipal level or federal level, what I said is I just want to move the city forward and help the city. Right. Now, listen, the Conservative Party wasn't ready for that change. They're taking a different approach, and that's fine. That's their decision. I'm very happy. It's a privilege to serve the city of Brampton, and that's going to be my only focus in the years ahead. So
then how do you see your unsuccessful approach for both the leaderships, for both the races? When you went provincially, you were not successful. Then you tried for federally, and even you were not successful there. How do you see that?
So I wouldn't use the word not successful. Provincially, I had the most successful record of any party leader. We won.
And then what about those allegations?
Yeah. Well, and then I had an apology afterwards, right? And so, but when I was there, we were high in the polls. We won every by-election except for one. So it was a very successful period, and I recruited great candidates. I look at 𝗚𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗄𝗽, the Treasury Board president, one of the examples of the candidates I recruited. But, you can't go backwards. You can only go forwards, and history has taken me to serving Brampton, and it's a task that I'm energized for.
Right. And when we talk about the previous term, when you already mentioned that you were not able to keep everybody in the same boat, and there was a division in the council all the time, and majority of the issues were unsolved due to that division.
Well, I would disagree with that assessment.
Okay.
You say issues were unsolved. No, we.
So then what?
So let me give you an example. We passed all 4 budgets unanimously. We're the only big city in the country to freeze taxes. We brought in free transit for seniors, passed that unanimously. We passed 2 new rec centers. Riverstone is opening today. Embleton, we've approved construction for. We passed funding for a new regional police station, Division 23. So, as much as we've had vigorous debates, what I've been focused relentlessly on is getting results. We're electrifying our transit fleet right now. We're going to be the first big city in Canada to have a completely clean, emission-free transit department. We've added 84 new transit buses. We're building a new transit facility. And so this has been a period of success, particularly in economic development. If you look at the businesses we've been able to recruit, it's extraordinary. And so, I have challenged some councillors to do better when I felt they were not doing what's right for the city. I challenged them and voted against it. Listen, I'm not going to be a pushover. If I see someone doing something wrong, I'll call it out. And when one councillor wanted to give $1 million to buy a barn from Caledon, I said, we're not going to spend $1 million on a barn. And I voted against that. Right. And I spoke out against that councillor. I thought that was a waste of money. But, that's going to be my approach. Right. I want to do what's right for the city. And if I have to ruffle feathers, then my obligation to residents and what I promised to them 4 years ago is I will do what's right for Brampton.
Right. I remember whenever we talk, you are always ready to address the objections on a very priority basis. But if we talk about the major concerns by the opponents, and so many people, they don't like you, but the major concern is the mishappenings in the council, corruption in the council, and you are favoring your friends from outside, and you are just giving them big time of favors, or you are giving them the jobs. So how do you address that issue?
Listen, for other opponents that want to resort to that negative style American politics, Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. Right. And so we know there's no truth to any of that. That is offensive. It is defamatory towards the good people that work in the city of Brampton. Right. And we're going to continue to run a positive campaign and not worry about the mudslinging.
Right. So even in terms of the corruption issues, what do you think? Because Nikki Kaur is primarily focusing. So
I'm not going to talk about the findings of corruption against Nikki Kaur. I think the Deloitte report speaks for itself. They said that she lied. They said that there was no corruption. But, I'm not out there pointing out that she got caught lying. Right. I'm going to focus on my campaign. And so if anyone wants to know about the allegations she made, it's available. Deloitte spent $500,000, did an extensive investigation, and those results are there for everyone in the city to see.
Right. And what are the major highlights you wanted to mention to the Bramptonians? In your previous term, you have already completed successfully, and you are planning for the future major issues where you are going to work on.
So let's talk about some major achievements. We had the first med school coming to the GTA in 100 years. First class is to be 2025, an extraordinary accomplishment for our city. Councillor Singh and I moved a motion to declare a healthcare emergency to really drive attention at Queen's Park into what we're doing. And now we have a new hospital finally being constructed that the city's put $125 million into. We pushed this. We fought for this. It's $1 billion with a B. Finally, we have progress happening in our city with that construction. We've got a regional cancer center being added to Brampton Civic. You look at the Cassie Campbell Field Hockey Dome that we've now passed. If you looked at the Orangevale Brampton rail line, which we purchased for active transportation. If you look at the free transit for seniors, the 84 new transit buses. If you look at the rapid bus transit that we've embarked upon on Queen Street, the list goes on. And just today, I'll be opening the new Riverstone Community Center. And don't forget, when I got elected mayor, there was people that wanted to sell that community center off. Right. They wanted to sell that golf course off. And I said, no, we're going to keep this green space for the public. Right. We're going to keep this rec center. We're going to turn the golf club into a rec center. We're going to save it for the people. There are some people that would have been happy to make it houses. I said no. So my record on recreation, my record on taxes, my record on healthcare is one that I'm very proud of. But I have to say, when I look at the economic development in our city, that's probably what I'm most proud of. Some of the businesses that we've enticed, you look at the Boston Scientific Canadian headquarters in Brampton, the new Electra facility, or MDA. MDA right now is building a new facility on Financial Drive. 800 rocket science jobs.
Right.
800. The robotics on the Canada space arm will be serviced out of Brampton. So in the movies, when they say, hello, Houston,
right,
they're now going to have to say, hello, Brampton. So yeah, let's be proud. I know there's some people out there that want to put down Brampton, but be proud of our city. I know
but in the past, there was a term used as Brampton is the sleeping city. So do you think that's changing?
I think we're changing that right now. Look at these the biggest, MDA was probably the biggest economic development win in the country. It's a $100 million project. I think we're starting to change that. We got more work to do, and I'm going to continue to work on this. But I think, yeah, we're making progress.
Right. And what kind of the points or the plannings are in your mind to integrate with the different communities and to make them united? Because there is a concern from some people. They said our city is divided in different regions, different religions, different communities, different castes.
So listen,
how do you take that?
Brampton is a mosaic of the world. Every language, every culture, every faith. And here's my approach, Harjinder, is that we're a family. And if any group in Brampton is attacked, I will stand with them. If part of our family is attacked, we're all attacked. And let me give you some examples. You know, when there was a break and enter in 6 Hindu mandirs, I immediately called a meeting with the chief of police and the Hindu pundits. And within 2 weeks, the chief arrested the individuals responsible. And I stood proudly with the community. You know, when we've had acts of Islamophobia, you know, when that guy Ravi Huda working for Remax made Islamophobic comments that were featured on the CBC, I stood by the side of the Muslim community saying there is zero tolerance for hate, bigotry, and intolerance. If the Sikh community faced bigotry or vandalism, the same thing. I would be standing with them. Any aspect of our community is attacked, we stick up for each other. We stick together. That would be my approach.
Right. And what would be the planning for the newcomers? Because Brampton or Ontario is the biggest city where places where the most of the immigrants wants to be. How do you have what kind of plans do you have to accommodate them in all features and for their accommodation, for their education, for their transportation, for all kind of facilities? What do you have in your mind?
We're going to continue to push and fight for a Brampton University. I believe we deserve one. In terms of settlement funding, that's done by the federal government. Of course, immigration is run by the federal government, and the level of settlement funding is dictated by our senior partners of government. But I'll push with them. I'll push for more to help with that integration. You know, what I love about Brampton is every week I meet someone who came here from a different part of the world with nothing but the shirt off their back, and they've created incredible success, incredible prosperity. And I want to see those stories happen, and I want to make sure if there's any barriers that exist in our country that we tear them down. And let me give you an example. You know, when I heard that there was problems with credential recognition during COVID-19 at the hospital, I led a petition to say, recognize foreign credentials, allow our talent in our city to be used in the hospital to help during a period of adversity. And I will continue to go to bat for newcomers to make sure that whatever opportunity exists, whatever dream they have the ability to chase in our city.
Right. And what's in your mind to serve people? Because, you know, for Brampton, you have already touched base regarding the hospital. Do you think we have enough sources and we have enough arrangements to give the health-related facilities to the Bramptonians? So,
listen, for nothing. For 20 years, we got nothing. Nothing. We're getting $1 billion right now with this new investment. It's a massive step in the right direction. Massive step. Do we need more? Yes. Am I going to push for more? Yes.
Right.
But you can't look down at $1 billion tender. That's put that in context. Brampton Civic was $600 million. So $1 billion is this will be the most state-of-the-art new hospital in the province. And so would I love to see a third hospital? Yeah, but let's get that second hospital built first.
Okay. And the major concern that's what we heard on our radio shows whenever we do any kind of talk show regarding the major concerns. The biggest concern is crime in these days. The break-ins, car thefts, and people are fights in the plazas or stabbings, or there are hundreds of cases almost every week or every month. What's in your mind for that?
So let me say right off the bat, I know, and first, I'm proud to have the support of the Peel Police Association. I'm proud to have the support of our men and women in blue. They run towards danger when most people run away. And I know some of my critics out there, some of the people supporting other candidates have been on the record saying defund the police or freeze their budget. Harjinder, they're out to lunch. Anyone that says defund the police have no idea how policing works in a big city. Right now, we have more calls in Peel Region into the Peel Police than we have officers able to respond. So which means the chief of police has to pick and choose which calls he can respond to, which means non-violent calls like auto thefts or break and enters. He doesn't have police officers available to respond. So to my critics that are pushing the defunding of the police, I will stand up to them. I will fight them at the region appeal and say no. Give the chief of police the resources to do his job. I've been the fiercest supporter of the police at the region appeal. We've got them 180 new officers in the last 4 years, but the chief tells me he needs 250 more. So you have my commitment that I will go to bat for Chief Nish's request to get 250 more officers over the next 4 years. I want to make sure he has every tool he needs to respond to keep us safe.
So friends, this is Harjinder Gill show and Mr. Patrick Brown, who's the candidate of Brampton for the mayor. He wants us to re-elect him. So let's hear from Patrick again. Why do you think people should re-elect you this time again, and what are in your agenda that you are going to serve for your next term if people elect you?
Well, my goal is to be ambitious for Brampton, to demand better, to demand our fair share from senior levels of government. Too often we've been polite in Brampton. We haven't asked, we haven't pushed, we haven't fought for our fair share. On everything from public safety to education to healthcare, I will fight for Brampton. You saw what happened during the pandemic. When Brampton wasn't getting vaccines, I'm the one that went on national television and said the reason we have a higher positivity rate is because we have more essential workers than anywhere else in the country. We are an epicenter of the transportation logistics center, food processing sector. We were keeping Canada's supply chain intact. And I fought for more vaccines to be delivered on a priority basis to areas with essential workers, and I got them. I stood up for Brampton, I fought for Brampton, and I delivered for Brampton. I don't know what the future is going to hold, Harjinder, but I'll tell you this. Whatever challenge Brampton faces, I'll be the one on the front lines fighting for Brampton, standing up for our city.
There was a caller before our interview, and he was asking that we need to ask all the candidates whatever the promises they had made in the past. What do you think? How many promises you have already fulfilled so far?
So the 5 big promises we made in the last election, we've achieved them all, and I'm proud of that. Promises made, promises kept has been the slogan of our campaign. We promised to bring in free transit for seniors. Free transit for seniors is here. We promised to freeze municipal property taxes, and the municipal portion of the property bill has been frozen for 4 years. I promised to fight for and get a hospital. We fought for and we got a hospital which is being constructed. These are examples of being able to honor the commitments I made. I promised 180 new police officers. We hired 180 new police officers. I said I would fight to get Brampton gun and gang funding, just like Ottawa and Toronto gets. And we got that from the province. We now have gun and gang funding that we didn't get before. And so, this has been a record of achievement, of keeping our promises. And I'm going to continue to push to do more and do better for our city.
So October 24th is Diwali and Bandi Chhod Divas, and people are worried about the day because they thought they are thinking that the turnout would not be that good this time. Do you think so?
So, I wrote, this date is set by the province. Immediately when they announced the date, I wrote the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs asking them to change the date because this is such
especially for the Brampton.
This is such a significant event in Brampton. I know Mississauga made the same pleas. They have a large South Asian community as well, and the province said that the date is set in legislation. They can't change it. And so I am worried about turnout. So I'm encouraging everyone to vote early. We've got advanced polls that open up this Friday. We're only 4 days away from advanced polls.
Exactly.
You can vote October 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 14th, 15th, and 16th. Don't wait until Election Day. Vote early. Have your say. Make sure your voice is heard in our democracy.
Right. So what else the cities or the government is planning to make sure that the people get out and vote? Because always the vote percentage is very low, especially when we talk about the municipal elections.
Yeah, so the city of Brampton is promoting the election through all media and all means they can. They've got, but this is not something that we interfere with politically. Yeah. This is run by the clerk's office. And so, I would just say, in terms of ways that Brampton's trying to encourage voter participation, you could always have someone from the clerk's office that is separate from the political process that could speak to that.
So, what do you think? Where do you see yourself in this election now?
I think it's
in terms of the position.
Yeah.
Do you feel you are the front runner?
Well, yeah, it feels it's going great. The last poll had us at 71%. So, we just need to keep on working hard. But my goal is to get us a bigger mandate, a bigger majority for be able to achieve our goals for the city. And so I'm asking everyone to come out, to vote, to have your say.
So if the vote percent is low, would that go in your favor or against?
You know what? I always like to see a higher voter turnout.
Okay. Yeah. Because many people think when the vote percent is low, that means people don't want to make a change.
Yeah. And so, and that's what, people say, but I can tell you, we're going to work really hard to get a high turnout. And so, my goal is, I don't want to see, who cares if low turnout is good for incumbents? I want to see a high turnout. I want to see people show up and participate. Okay. And so we're going to be really pushing voting in their advanced polls.
Right. All right. Okay. Patrick, thank you so much for all your time. And in your closing remarks, what do you want to say?
No, thanks for having me on the show. We look forward to coming back again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you. And all the very best wishes for your campaign.
Okay. Thank you.
ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀਡੀਓਜ਼ ਦੇਖਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਸਾਡਾ YouTube ਚੈਨਲ G Media Group